Welcome, traders. Welcome to another broadcast of Live Trading Talk with Oliver Velez. My name is Oliver Velez, of course, and I am your trader for life. Oh, yes, that's right. I am. Thank you very much for joining me today. I believe that we are broadcast 30-something, actually, which I think is quite nice. Now, I am going back into last year, even before I was on this system, but I think we've got 30-some-odd broadcasts under our belt, and I have no intentions of stopping. I appreciate your listenership. I appreciate all the support that I receive from all of the listeners. I appreciate the many positive and glowing responses that I continue to receive, even on some of the older archives. It's been just simply amazing, and those things actually do touch my heart. They also provide motivation for me to do something that I love, but certainly is somewhat challenging to do with a very, very busy travel schedule at times. But those things are always very welcome. I truly appreciate those who take the extra step of joining me during the show so that they can actually chat and type with me. I also appreciate every single one of you who's downloaded the app. And for those who are not aware, you can download my radio show's app right to your ISO or Android device. All you have to do is open up your app store, Google Play Store or your app store, if you have an iPhone, and search for my name, Oliver Velez, or the name of the radio show, Live Trading Talk. And immediately you'll find the app is available for download, and it's very convenient because obviously it contains all of the past episodes that you can listen to at your leisure. You can actually chat with me through the app, and it's a far more intuitive experience here. And that's, of course, if you find what we do here or what I do here of value. As a reminder, understand that this show is not dedicated to current events. There are hundreds of thousands of radio shows that tackle the day's events or the week's most popular topics. I wanted to do a show that was more universal and more timeless. What we do here is we tackle issues that will forever remain issues for as long as there are human beings. We deal with topics that, whether you are a beginning trader or a very, very superior advanced trader, we talk about topics that touch both of those extremes and everything in the middle. These topics will forever remain relevant in your lives as market participants. And so I wanted to create a show that built an archived library that you could go to back to 5 years from now, pull up one of the past episodes, and find it just as relevant 5 years from now as it was 5 years in the past. And in my opinion, this type of show has far more value than dealing with the fleeting issues of the moment. What is current news right now ceases to be current news a few minutes later. And some pieces of news obviously can reach the hour-long mark, but not many. And to me, that's very fleeting. It has its place, absolutely does have its place, but it's not my cup of tea. So that's what you have here. And based on many of the comments that I've been receiving, it is absolutely what you want. I also encourage that you send me comments about, or send me suggestions about what you'd like for me to address. I mean, I have actually come up with every single radio title or every subject I have actually come up with. But I'd like to take on some of your topics or some of the things that you might find interesting as long as it falls into that universally applicable category. I want to discuss topics that touch everyone, no matter who you are. I want to talk about things that will be relevant to you 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And I want to discuss things that will be incredibly relevant to every new market participant who enters into my world, into the world of trading. All right. So today we have a very interesting, a very, very fascinating topic, in my opinion. We are going to talk about trading and how I believe it has the potential to solve a lot of the world's social ills. Now, I know that is a very bold statement. And when some of you read it, you're probably like, Oliver, okay, trading is great, but come on, solving the world's social problems. And so I would like for you to give me an opportunity to really explain what I'm talking about. We do live in a world that has many, far too many social ills that plague the various classes of human beings, no matter what country you live in. Every single country on earth has social ills and challenges that it deals with. And every type of people experiences social ills as well. There are certain social ills that, in my opinion, and the opinion of many others, should really not exist, such as hunger. There is truly no excuse for hunger to exist in today's modern day society. The waste of food that goes on throughout the world is enough to feed every single person who goes to bed at night with hunger pains 10 times over. There is no excuse for hunger. So that is an example of a social ill that really technically should not exist, but it does. So there are certain social ills that are just the natural byproduct of a modern day society. Cracks get formed in systems which can never be perfect. And of course, certain people are going to fall between the cracks that are created by certain systems. And we need systems. We need governmental systems, and we need various other systems. And because no system is perfect, it creates cracks. It cannot cover every single type of situation. And as a result of that, it creates voids that people fall into. And as a social society, as a human society, I believe we have an obligation to make sure that there is at least a base floor for individuals who fall into the cracks by no fault of their own. All right? That's the key. By no fault of their own. All right? So I'd like to talk about this topic in some detail here. And everyone knows that it is political season in America today. And quite naturally, there has been a great deal of talk about the state and the condition of Americans. The very popular and often overused term of the haves and the have-nots have been thrown a lot during this presidential campaign. This presidential campaign has really focused on the very, very negative things that they believe the vast majority of Americans are feeling. Frustrated, downtrodden, beaten up, broke, inadequate, depressed, not even at par, and so forth and so on. And yet that talk has also shifted to the people who have enjoyed the last 8 years or so, the people who are living at the top. America has produced more billionaires over the past 10 years than it has created in its entire history from birth. Okay? The have versus the have not argument position has been used all the way down the ages during the ages. It has primarily been used from day one in our human society. This have versus the have-nots, or the haves and the have-nots, actually assumes as if there is nothing in the middle. It assumes a classist system that involves only two parties or two classes: those who have and enjoy life and have every one of their material and psychological and emotional needs satisfied, and then the have-nots, those who don't have their needs satisfied. This approach or this concept assumes that there is no middle ground, that you're one or the other, which obviously is false. There is a middle. We call it the middle class today. And the middle class throughout the world has been growing for the last several hundred years. And what's interesting about this middle part, which has always been there from day one, you can't have any type of system without a middle. Down throughout history, the middle class were those who served the monarchies, those who were in control. You had the ones who served the powerful or the elite. And the ones who directly served them were actually the middle class. They had direct contact with the elite. They often lived with the elite or on the elite's property, serving, taking care of, protecting soldiers and whatnot, all made up the middle class. The protectors of the elite were the middle class. The servers of the elite were the middle class. And everyone else were the have-nots, the lower class, the poor, the masses, if you will. But the middle class was always very small and remained small, but it always existed. What's been happening, the dynamic that's been happening over the last several years, is the explosion of this middle class. And even to this very day, the middle class are primarily the servers of the elite, the executives that work for a middle tier firm, a manager who manages a Walmart, middle class. The owners are the elite, those who serve and manage and protect largely make up the middle class. It's not just a distinction that is defined by monetary elements. There are service elements as well. And so even in today's modern times, the middle class are your servers who are really supposed to do exactly what the middle class was doing ages ago. Not only serving the elite, but protecting the elite. And the middle class was largely in charge of keeping the masses under control. And so even today, that is largely the function, or one of the functions, of the middle class. But you see this dynamic particularly in corporate America, where the elite are the owners, the middle class are the managers, and the masses are basically the lowly workers. But over the last several hundred years, this middle part has grown exponentially. And today, we actually judge and rate countries based on their middle class. We used to do this based on their elite. But today, You judge countries by the size of their middle class and by the condition and the current state of the middle class. If the middle class is comfortable, if the middle class is pleased, if the middle class has sufficient things to keep them okay or happy and so forth and so on, that country is going to be looked at as being one of the great countries throughout the world. And if you look at a country that doesn't really have much of a middle class, still sort of stuck in time where you have more of the haves, a lot of the have-nots, and only a tiny little middle part, that country is going to today be viewed as third worldish, in back of the line. Despite how wealthy the elite in that country might be, it's not going to have the status of a country that has a very well-developed, big, and solid, stable middle class. We rate and compare countries by the middle class. Now, what has created the middle class is a metamorphosis that has happened in the lower class, the poor class. So if there were a line that separated the poor class from the middle class, more and more people have been crossing over the last several hundred years from the poor group to the middle group. And so there are these three groups that basically generally divide people throughout the entire world. There's the elite, there's the middle, and there's the poor, what many refer to as the masses. Well, the masses, if you are the middle class, you look at the masses as the poor. If you are the elite, you look at the masses as the middle class and the poor. But there are these three categories that classify almost every person on the planet. And there are lines of demarcation that sort of separate one from the other. And the explosion of the middle has occurred by more people from the poor group, the bottom of the triangle, if you will, the widest part of the triangle. More people have been transferring to the middle of the triangle, the middle class. And that is the class that has been growing the most rapidly. All of the classes grow, of course, all of them. But the most rapid growth has been with the middle class. Many people believe that we have left a classes system, that we no longer have a classes system, which I think is the height of naivete. That we not only have a classes system, it has never disappeared at any moment in history or time, and it will never disappear in the future. As long as we are a judging, comparing, rating society, we will have classes. We will categorize. We will judge. And as long as we will do that, and that's going to be forever, we're going to have this classes system. Now, let's talk about shall we, do I want to go here yet? There might be something I should discuss with you first before tackling the specific things. No, I'll do it now. Okay. I want to talk about the things that help maintain the lower class. But before I do that, let me just touch upon the three different types of people again, just a little more thoroughly. There's the elite, the middle, and the poor. There's also these three divisions inside of each category. So, for instance, In the middle class, there's the lower middle class. Then there's the straight middle of the middle class. That's called middle class. And then there's the upper middle class. So there are these ranges. If you are closer to being elite but not quite there, you're upper middle class. If you're really barely middle class, you're not really poor, but you're not that far away either, you're lower middle class. If you're nowhere near either of those lines of demarcation, you're straight in the middle. You're the middle class. Now, we have tried to define these lines economically. And that's a very, very difficult thing to do because economics are flimsy. The monetary way is very inaccurate. I can make far less money in Medellin, Colombia, where I'm coming to you from right now, and live far better than the vast majority of the elite in the United States. So that's the difficulty. That's one of the difficulties, or one example of the difficulties of trying to create a monetary way to define these classes. There's also the happiness factor as well, which is an integral part of each class. And the happiness / contentment is something that should be incorporated into one's analysis of whether you are solidly middle class or solidly elite. Because if you are middle class but living in a fashion that the poor class lives, then are you really middle class? So again, these are some of the issues with trying to create a monetary way to create those divisions. But inside of each of those broad categories, there are the 3 broad categories as well. Now, what prevents the poor from crossing over into the middle class? The goal of every progressive country is to increase the number of people at the bottom to move to the middle, where they become more productive members of the society, where they can become bigger taxpayers into the system. A developing country does not want a growing poor. If the poor grows too much, it becomes a drag on the entire system. So every progressive country invests in, or attempts to invest, or claims to invest in moving the poor into the middle. All right? There's no need to move the middle into the elite. That's going to happen through individual drive and so forth and so on. But the poor needs assistance, needs help. But what prevents this? What makes it difficult? I believe that there are 3 major divides, 3 major lacks, if you will, that help create the haves from the have-nots. Let's take the elite out of the equation, and let's just look at the middle class, those who have, right? Because the middle class has, they have their house and their white picket fence and their 2 cars and, the 1.7 kids or 1.5 children and so forth and so on, or what have you. They have their basic needs in life satisfied. They have clothing, they have shelter, they have food. They may not be content with their lives, but they're not looking for a place to stay every night. They're not hoping that today is the day that some type of food shows up. And they're not naked. So they're the haves, and the very poor are the have-nots. What are the what are the major differences that create these two groups? What defines a person that moves to the middle class versus a person who stays trapped in the lower rung? I believe there are three lacks. Lack number one, there is the lack of education and training. There is the lack of technology, the lack of access to technology. So there's the lack of access to education and training. There is the lack of access to technology, which moves the world and changes the world every 8 months. And there is the lack of access to capital or money. These are your three great divides that create the difference between the haves and the have-nots. You take away or you hold back access to education and training, access to technology, and access to capital, and you guarantee omnipresent poverty. You guarantee perpetual poverty. But what if we could bridge these three things? What if there was something that could provide at a very, very minimal cost all three of these things? It would explode the migration from the poor to the middle class, or from the have-nots to the haves. But let's talk a little bit more in detail about each one of these items. Education and training. I put these two together when in fact they really deserve their own individual space or line. Education is distinct and different from training, or I should say training is distinct and different from education. But let's talk about them together for the sake of simplicity. Education is what one might consider med school, where a student enters into med school to become educated in medicine or in being a doctor. It does not mean that the individual going through that education is a doctor yet, but they're being educated as a doctor. Training would be more akin to the individual who has graduated med school and is now gone to work during his residency at a hospital, dealing with real patients, real issues, real problems, real sicknesses, real solutions, real world, but yet still is not a doctor. So education is very different from training. In the trading space, most people are overeducated. They almost have too much education. They have read too much on the internet. They have too many trading books on their shelves. They've gone to too many seminars and attended too many traders' expos. They are filled to the brim with education. They have too much of it. It's spilling out of their ears. All of their education is fighting. Each form of their education is fighting with another form of their education, keeping the individual crippled. Most traders that come to me that say, Oliver, I'm tired, I'm weary, I really want to learn this. I'm tired of looking, I believe I found my home. Usually they are filled to the brim with education. Too much. I have to divest them of what they know. And education is not specifically in the trading space what makes you a good trader. It's training that most of these individuals need. Training is what makes the education yours. It's what makes the education applicable, usable. To read a book about playing golf, to become educated about the game itself will not make you a golfer. To then, after reading, going out and training, hitting 1,000 balls a day, having a mentor or trainer watch your swing, that is what is going to make the education yours, to make it real, to convert it into something that you can use. Most people in our modern day society do not lack education. They lack training. Most people are actually overeducated. Now, I'm not talking about formal education at this particular moment, but education as it relates to trading, most people have too much of that. What most people need is training. They try to go from education to trading. That's like the doctor, the med student trying to go from med school to his own practice without the real world experience training for 2, 3 to 5 years. That will never happen. A surgeon that was in class learning the Latin terms of the body and the Latin terms of certain medications, the surgeon who was in school dissecting frogs and an occasional cadaver, you don't want that person going directly from that education step to actually real live surgery on people before there is some very thorough training. The problem in the trading space is that they don't make a distinction between education and training. They think a seminar can make me a trader. A seminar falls into the education category. Where's the middle? We're talking about the middle class, right? Where's the middle step before you move to the elite? You can't go from just learning something intellectually to the actual thing. The training part is missing. We don't do this for lawyers. We don't do it for doctors. We don't do it for pilots. Pilots they take a pilot's class. They have to pass a test. They read tons of books. They learn about weather patterns and aerodynamics. They learn the science. They have books on aerodynamics and physics. That's the education part. But can they fly after coming out of class? Hey, I got an A on my class. I should be able to fly this 747 now. No, there's a middle part, the training part. And traders today have no training. They poo-poo my training program. Because I have traders on a simulator going through training, they make fun at that as if they're doing well. They make fun of the training step. They make fun of the med student's residency period. Oh, you're not a real doctor. But they will be. After this training, they're getting real experience, which is what makes you who you are, defines what you will do. You can't perform beyond your experiences. And the training period is what accumulates. Supposedly, if you're doing the training correctly, you're accumulating the right experiences to then go into the real world and draw from those experiences during your training process. But no, most people in the training space go education, real live trading account, and blow up stuff. They blow up their family's money. They blow up They blow up their own lives. You've heard the stories. So, but I digress a little bit. This distinction between training and education is a very important one, especially as it relates to the trading space. And when you remove both, when you cut off access or deny access or make access extraordinarily difficult to get educated and trained, you guarantee poverty. But what if something or some approach or some system could provide access to this education and training for almost nothing? We'll get to that. Item number 2, lack of access to technology. Technology today runs the world. In fact, technology has always been running the world. Most people have this notion that technology is something new because they associate technology with a gadget, an electronic gadget of some sort, a computer, a phone. But this is erroneous. Technology is larger than a gadget. Listen, at one time, man was using rocks to kill each other, stones. You've heard of stoning? And there's still some societies who believe in stoning, unfortunately. And then they moved to a higher level of technology to kill each other. They moved to the bow and arrow. The slingshot, same category. First there was the stone, then there was the slingshot. To fling the stone, better technology. Then there was the bow and arrow. From the bow and arrow, they moved to guns, gunpowder. The discovery of gunpowder changed the world. The discovery of gunpowder created monsters of certain societies. Better technology to kill each other. From the gun phase, we went to the cannon ball phase, the ultimate gun, back in those days. From the cannonball, we went to, I'm going to make a broad jump here because I have to get going, but you get the point. We went to the atomic bomb phase. Better technology to kill each other. From the atomic bomb, we went even deeper or higher. We went to nuclear weaponry. Now, here's an interesting thought. The technology has moved greatly, advanced, improved. We're talking about the technology of warfare. And I'm using this just as an example of the growth and movement of technology from the ages to now. The technology has grown, has advanced, has improved exponentially and quite rapidly. However, is the man behind the rock, the man behind the bow and arrow, the man behind the gun, the atom bomb, the nuclear codes, has man himself evolved, advanced, improved? The social answer is no, because what is constant is war. So if there was war with rocks and war with slingshots and war with bow and arrows and war with all of the improvement in the technology, but yet it hasn't prevented war, then obviously there's a disconnect in the growth aspect. So technology has grown. Man generally has not kept up with pace. And that's often what creates a lot of social ills in the world. When your technology outstrips the consciousness of those who use the technology, watch out. There's a problem. All right? And that's the world we face today. That's the scary world we face today. Is that man has largely not changed. He's largely a very fearful, aggressive, overly greedy and protective animal who will fight and kill at the drop of a hat. That was the case thousands of years ago, and it's the case today. It just looks a little more sophisticated today, but it's the same thing. I digress again a little bit, but these are very important. These are very interesting points I'd like to touch upon as I go through this list. But to deny access to technology today, to deny access to computers, can you have any chance without some form of access to technology today? Computers, the internet. Technology is key. In fact, opportunities flow through technology. I was giving a speech to a group of graduating 8th graders a little while back. And I was telling them that because of technology and its advancements, which change the world almost every 8 months, there is absolutely no excuse for those who have access to not be able to make money. And I got their attention. They were like, Oliver, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? I'm saying that you all right here have access to computers. You have access to the internet. Today, there is zero excuse, fact, to not make money and make a lot of it. Absolutely no excuse. You have no excuse. But Oliver, we're in 8th grade. No excuse whatsoever. In fact, you have greater chances than most adults do to make a lot of money right now. Of course, you could hear a pin drop in the auditorium. And so everyone wanted to know why. Why is just having access to my computer at home and access to the internet, what does that change for me? How can I turn that into money? And I says, you all have heard of a dollar store, right? I said, yeah, of course. My mom shops there. My parents shop there. We pick up little knickknacks from the dollar store. I said, do you know how many things in that store that's selling for $1, someone on the internet selling for $9? And all of a sudden their eyes got big. Do you know you could take yourself? How many people in this room have a cell phone? Like 90% of the people raise their hand with their cell phone in it. This is, do you know that you can take your iPhone or your Android device and you can walk into a dollar store, scan it on certain sites to find out what other sites are selling it for? You could sell these dollar trinkets for $6, $9, $14 on eBay. Have you ever seen a garage sale going on in the neighborhood? Everyone said, of course. He says, do you know how much junk you could sell to someone over the internet who doesn't regard it as junk? Someone's junk is another person's treasure. And I went on and on and on, which I won't do at this particular moment, but I went on and on and on with example after example of how in today's society, having access to technology, having access to a computer, having access to the internet, instantly puts you in a place to be able to make money, to be able to provide for yourself. If you take this access in today's modern day world, if you take this access away from an entire society, if you go look at a society and you see that they don't have access to computers, they don't have access to the internet, they don't have access to the outer world, then they don't have access to their own world. You take this access away and you guarantee poverty in perpetuity. So, no access to education, and more importantly, training, and no access to technology. How is it possible to do anything, to progress at anything, to raise yourself up by your bootstraps? You don't have hands to do it with. You don't have boots or bootstraps. You don't even have hands. You have nothing. There are people today, because they have access to the internet and a computer or a cell phone with a camera on it, they are selling their good looks. Go on Instagram. You'll see them, 1.4 million followers, just because they look great and have conquered the art of the selfie. And under their bio, you'll see, for business inquiries, email here. They're now selling to their own audiences for companies. One of their posts, they'll hold your product and say they use it to their 1.4 million followers. Zero talent except at the selfie, but savvy when it comes to access to the technological side of life today. Technology has caused the lines of demarcation that have separated one country from another. It's caused it to disappear. In truth, we don't have the traditional country anymore. Technology has created a different type of country. Facebook is a country now. Facebook is its own country. And I've spoken about this before. Its users are its citizens. It knows more about its citizens than America or any other country knows about its citizens. It knows every single thing you like. It knows everything you feel based on a comment to a photo or a video. It knows everything you're interested in. Google knows your every wish or desire based on your search. It knows when your tastes change instantly. It knows when something suddenly has come up in your life and you're very fascinated with it. It knows more about you than your parents know about you. Google is a country with citizens. Facebook is a country with citizens. Technology has changed the landscape of the planet. In truth, we should drop the country names. No America, no Canada, no Japan, no Germany. It's the new countries. Google, Facebook, Apple. And I can go on, but you get the point. To deny access to technology is to deny access to the new world. There is a new order created by technology, new set of countries, new set of rules, new society, new ways of living and being. You cut that off, and they're forever lost in the old world, which is dead. Traditional forms of marketing don't work today like they used to 30 years ago. When's the last time you've gotten a 12-page marketing letter in your mailbox trying to sell you on a program? Just doesn't work today. There are probably still some people stuck in that world. You might get one every now and then, but not like before. Technology changes the world every 8 months. Do you understand the enormity of this? That virtually every 8 months, we have a completely different world. I'm not saying America's not America and Germany's not Germany after 8 months. I'm saying the new world is different, which is the one that really counts today. Shoot, you don't even want your cell phone 8 months from now. They'll be jamming a new one, the new version down your throat. World completely changes technologically every 8 months. So think of all the worlds you will experience in your lifetime. And it's going to speed up because when I was a kid, technology was changing the world every 4 years. Now it's changing the world every 8 months. It'll get to changing the world every month. And who knows, maybe every day. But you have to stay alive in the moment to keep up. If you are not keeping up with this fast-paced movement, if there's a resistance to, that's the pull of death. That is the black-cloaked grim reaper saying, whispering at you, don't you just want to give up? Isn't it just, it'll be peaceful just to die. This fast-paced change created by technology demands that you keep up or die. If you are in business and you are not keeping up with today's technology, if you are not keeping up with the social movement with the social media networks, if you are not doing that, you are actually falling and falling and falling behind until you disappear completely. It is not a choice. You may not like it, but it is not a choice. And what bothers me is that people in my world who have all of this access and don't use it. And there are societies that can't have it. It's either held back from them, denied, or made very difficult on purpose. There are societies that don't want their women to have access to a computer or the internet. There are societies that don't want women to be educated or trained. There are societies that don't want a certain type of person with a certain color skin to have access to the same educational training or access to technology. There are societies that are so closed, they want to cut off the outside world. Any type of access to the outside world cut off. So they cut off access to computers and cut off access to the internet. This is, in essence, denying access to technology. That is number 2 on the list of great divides that create the haves and the have-nots. The haves have access to education and training. The haves have access to technology and can use it. They can use technology to harness the education and training that they received. And item number 3 is access to capital. I was about to say money, and yes, you can use that term, but capital is more appropriate. When I say money, some people think about the change in their pocket or a few dollars to go buy a quart of milk at the supermarket or something like that. No. Or even their bank account, with their $30,000 balance or something like that. That's what they think of. That's what the typical imagery when you use the word money. When you use the word capital, there's different imagery. So I like that word better. See, when you have money, it's like you're regular. When you have capital, oh, look at him. He's got capital. So the lack of access to capital is the final divide. Listen, I know that you have heard stories of people who have created fortunes in life from nothing. And I am telling you that they're never true. Never. It is impossible to create a fortune without having access to a fortune. Those stories are very motivational. And they are sprinkled with truth, lightly. But in this world, you need capital. Now, maybe it wasn't their capital. That's what I'm talking about, access to it. Maybe they were poor. Maybe they did not have a dime in their pocket. Maybe they came over to another country with 25 cents in their pocket and built this fortune. But at some point, they got access to capital. It may not have been their capital, but they got access to it one way or the other. There is no way in this world, on this planet, I don't know about any other planets in their systems, but in this planet, you can't progress in a big way without access to capital. Now, the people who remain small produce their own capital, and they will forever remain small. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with small. Nothing wrong with it at all. Some people prefer small. But to become more than small, to become sizable, to approach the ultimate, to become big, you have to have access to capital that is not yours. And I am telling you, every big success, every single one throughout the entire history of the world, if they've gotten big, every big success got big by having access to capital much bigger than theirs. Now, this is the most sophisticated item on the 3-item list. The access to capital that is not yours. The access to capital that is bigger than your own. You take away someone's ability to become educated or trained in something. You deny them access to technology, the internet, computers. And of course, with no access to capital, who would provide capital to an uneducated, untrained individual who has zero access to the world? Who would provide capital there? And that's the vicious cycle. You create a system that maintains poverty and being poor, a way of life of being poor at the bottom of life. You create that perpetually. You make it perpetual when these 3 things are absent. Now, I built my trading organization off of these 3 things. My trading organization was designed to provide these 3 lacks to every single individual. My organization, I provide education in the trading space. That is where you sit with me for 2 days, or one of my trading lieutenants, or what have you. You sit for a period of time and you intellectually learn how markets work, how they behave under certain circumstances. You learn techniques and tactics intellectually. This is akin to going to med school, but it's trading school. You learn my methods of trading. You learn my techniques, my tactics, my strategies, my trade management system, my hotkey system. All of this is the educational part. We sit down. Give me 2 days of your life, and you won't need another drop of education. Because education ultimately is the first step, and it's the least important step, actually. Training then follows your education. And so after a brief period of educating you, after med school, the equivalent of med school, trading school, we then roll up our sleeves and we get real world training. You are provided with the ability to put your education to use for one goal. It is not to make money during training. The doctor or the pre-doctor who is in his residency or in her residency is not getting paid anything very much. So the goal at the training stage is not to make money in your trading. It is, you have one goal during your training: to go out into the real market. And for us, the world is the market. To go out into the real world, to go out into the real market, and to commit acts of buying and selling based on your education to gain an experience. And then repeat. You create an act in the real world of a buy or sell, or buy and a sell. But you don't just randomly buy and sell. You buy and sell based on your education. This creates an experience, and then you repeat. String enough of these individual experiences together, and they start to reveal things that you need to tweak and correct and adjust. You can't tweak and adjust based on one experience, or not even 3 or 4. You need 10 to 20 experiences, then you evaluate. But there's the person who has gone directly to trading without training, and they're bound to lose everything they have. They have to, because they're going to use the training experience acquiring period on their real capital. When at first it should be applied to a real world scenario through a simulator. A pilot does not go directly from passing a pilot's exam, studying aerodynamics in a book and passing the test, to flying. They spend a good period of time in a simulator. They need to turn their education into experience. And then once they have this strong foundation of experience, they take that strong foundation of experience into the air. Who wants to be in the air without experience? Who wants to be trapped in a hurricane or storm without training? This is what people make fun of what I do with traders, despite the fact that I've created some of the trading industry's biggest and most successful traders. They make fun at the fact that we have a training period. Now, how stupid are they? That you would never want an untrained doctor operating on your child. You would never want an untrained pilot flying you and your family through one of the most turbulent storms in the last 7 years. You wouldn't want an untrained lawyer who has your life in the balance between 25 years in jail and freedom. Nowhere else in life do you make fun of the trained individual, the one who had a period before the real world to get their skills up, to create the experiential base necessary to go out into the real world. Nowhere else in life do we do this except when it comes to trading. How is this so? It's crazy to me. I often get traders that realize after they have lost everything they own, after the market has taken every hope and desire away from them, now they come for training. They poo-pooed it before. When they had money, they poo-pooed training. They degraded it. They said training is not real, as if the pilot in a simulator should skip that. This is lunacy. Would you want your family's fortune? You have worked hard to save up this $100,000. Would you give it? Would you want to give it to someone untrained? No, I took a seminar. Oh, you took a seminar? Yeah, I took the seminar. And now I'm going to grow your family's account. But what kind of experience do you have? No, I don't need, I don't, what do you mean experience? What kind of training did you? No, I just took a seminar. We're gonna just try this live, real, right now. You would never do that. But people want me. People think that I should give my capital to an untrained individual. But yet you would never give your money to an untrained individual. Why? Why, when it comes to me and my program, am I supposed to skip your training and give you my capital, my family's money, just hand it to you, and you have not gone through training? You have not demonstrated any proficiency at the training level. You just took a seminar. Why am I supposed to do that? Where is the intelligence in that? It doesn't exist. So in training, my traders have to pass their residency, which I believe is not all that difficult. It's not easy. And neither would you want it to be easy for anyone to blast through with even with almost no talent. It's so easy that no talent and skill can blast through. You wouldn't want that to be the case because you're putting your family's money at risk. You would want to make sure that your training is producing guaranteed efficiency, proficiency. So if you complete the training, if you get to the finish line, guaranteed this person's ready. You don't want to be guessing, well, they got to the finish line, but I don't think, I'm not sure, but I'm going to here's $100,000 of my money. No. You want a scenario where, dude, he got to the finish line. He's ready. You want to be chasing him down with your family's money. That's the kind of training program you want someone going through. So it's not easy, but it's not extraordinarily difficult either. My traders, after becoming educated, have to go through a training period. They have to pass a residency period. The minimum period is 90 days. We're not talking 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, like becoming a lawyer or a doctor. We're dealing with something that you can make far more money than a lawyer or a doctor can. But you don't have to take 10 years to get there like a doctor does. Or 7 years for an attorney. So my traders have a minimum training period of 90 days. It's 3 months of your life. You wouldn't believe how many people say, but why? Why must I demonstrate for 3 months? No, the question should be, why am I not making you demonstrate for 3 years? Because I bet you wouldn't give your hard-earned money to someone who came to you with a 3-month record. You would say, what? That's all you can show me is 3 months? No. You'd say, show me your 5-year record. Show me what you've done over the last 3 years. Show me what you've done when the market was going down. Show me how you performed over the past year. But if someone came to you with a 3-month record, and here's my 90-day record, you wouldn't give them a dime. But yet you ask me, but why 90 days? How crazy is that? 90 days? So the minimum period is 90 days. During these 90 days, the trader, trading with real data and simulated buying power, And using the knowledge that I've taught them, they have to, in order to pass the training stage, they have to produce $3,000. Because that's it. $3,000. Not $3,000 a day, not $3,000 a week, $3,000 period. But you can't make $3,000 in the first week and then say, I'm done. No, because that could be luck. You have to last 90 days and come out of the 90-day period with $3,000. Now, here's the catch. You have to try to do this responsibly. You can't swing for the fences. You can't gamble. You have to trade responsibly. And my system, my training system, compels that. So that if you step beyond what is responsible, the system shuts down automatically. Just as if you're a pilot in a simulator who took a wrong turn and you crashed into the mountain, the simulator shuts down as if you really crashed. It doesn't keep going and pretends like you didn't crash into the mountain. That plane, that simulated plane goes down in the simulator and shuts off. All of your lights shut off. All of your mechanisms shut off. Your trading platform shuts down. Your positions get automatically liquidated once you lose more than the amount allotted for you to lose that day. If you go over a certain share amount, shut down. If you go over a certain loss amount, shut down. So just like the little mice that run through their little cages and the walls are electric, but they're blindfolded and the walls are electric. They move too far to the left, they get a little electric shock. They move too far to the right, they get a little electric shock. And after a few times of getting this little electric shock, they find the middle and they go right to the cheese or whatever it is that they're going after. I don't even think mice like cheese that very much. I don't know where that came from. Peanut butter. But that's training. Training mice to not go too far to the left, not go too far to the right, stay in the middle. And then you can do it blindfolded or without blindfolded. They will never stray too far to the left or right thereafter. And so, yes, we put traders through this system where if they go too far this way, shut down. They go too far the other way, shut down. I want them staying responsibly in the middle. No extremes. Until they can consistently remain in the middle and produce that $3,000 goal. Now, they have to do this in 90 days, but a minimum of 90 days. It might take them 120 days. So it's not as if, oh my God, I'm at 90 days and I only have 2,000. No, keep going. The 90-day is the minimum mark. Some traders pass it. It takes them 7 months to pass the training period. I'm not in control of that. They are in control of their own trading. Maybe they were messing up for 2 months and then started to get it. And it took them longer than 90 days. Every now and then there's someone who does it in 90 days. They don't need more time. They get me that $3,000. At the 90-day mark, they have 3,000. Most of them have more, 12,000, 15,000. Most of them blow that number away, the ones who do it in 90 days. But it might take the trader 8 months instead of 3 months, 5 months instead of 3 months. It might take the trader 2 years. But that's not me. You have your assignment. if you're messing up your assignment, that's not me. I'm not pressing the buy buttons and the sell buttons. You are. I'm not making the trading decisions. You are. If you're not progressing, if you're not producing, that's on you. Others are. So, my traders get educated. That's step one. Then they go through training. That's step two. I provide all access to all the technology they need. All they need is a laptop computer. They can have a desktop too. Laptop or desktop computer. I will provide one of the most sophisticated trading platforms in the world. I will provide the very best executions on this planet Earth. We pride ourselves on that. I will provide access to virtually every direct route to the market in existence so that you are almost guaranteed to beat all of the retail traders out there. I provide the access to the dark and gray pools of liquidity so that you can get in there right with the major institutions like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and snatch your inventory alongside of the big boys. I'll provide the access to give you the ability to hide your orders when you don't want the world to see them. I'll give you the ability to shoot off your executions faster than you can blink your eyes. I'll provide the very best technology to take your education and training and send it through this technology. Your education and training goes through the technology. If the technology is poor, your education and training can be for naught. If you can't execute what you have been trained to do through the technology, then the training is useless. To become trained as a skilled chef, but to never be given, to be put in a kitchen and never to be given any of the appropriate tools to exercise your newfound skill. Part of it's for naught. You can't cook with your hands. You can't put food in your hand and put the hand in the oven or on the fire. So technology is very important, and we provide our traders with the best. And last but not least is access to capital. I tell traders, put your money away. Studies have proven that traders trade better with someone else's money. That traders are more stupid, more careless, more reckless with their own money because there's no one to answer to. But the moment you have another set of eyes watching you, the moment you have someone else in the equation, the moment you have to report to someone else, the moment you start doing so much better, the sharper you become, more conscientious in your actions. You are, excuse me for saying this, but you are dumb with your money. Your family members deserve your family members to be angry with you for blowing the family's money. You deserve it. But I am telling you that if you take the step of putting your money away and trading the capital of someone else under certain guidelines, This process makes you more responsible. This process makes you grow. You're not all over the place. You've got a too far to the left mark and a too far to the right mark, just like the mice. And that is part of your proper maneuvering, learning, oh, I went too far that time, next time I won't. Oh, I went too far this time this way, next time I won't. When you get into a situation where you're evaluated, you have goals to hit weekly and daily. This is what fosters, develops, and grows a responsible trader. Not just simply out there with real money, winging it, sloshing it around at random. But the trading of someone else's capital instantly makes you better, makes you sharper, makes you more conscientious. Traders are more fearful of losing my money than they are their money. They outperform with the account I fund them with than their own account, because many of them trade their own account alongside my account. That's allowed. So most traders have one window and two execution modules on the same screen. Execution module 1 shoots the orders to my funded account, the one where I fund them. The other execution module, which is right next to it, shoots the orders to their own account with their own money in it. My account wins almost every time. This has been proven throughout the ages. Why do billionaires form hedge funds for other billionaires to put money in? They don't need other people's money, because they know that simply trading their capital alone, they won't be as good. But if they mix their billions with the billions of other friends that they have to answer to, they will be held to a higher standard. They'll do better. And so billionaires form hedge funds, form trading groups or management firms. It is proven that you will progress faster, be a better and more responsible trader with someone else's capital. Now think about this. Think about the three divides, the three lacks that I explained to you today. The lack of education and training. That's here. The lack of access to the right technology, the right trading platform, the right executions, the right execution routes, the right hotkeys, the right pools of liquidity, the right order types, the right robots, the right algorithms, access to all of the things that put you head and shoulders above the regular trader who doesn't even know what I'm talking about. It puts you in a position to always snatch their lunch money. They bring lunch money for you. They bring dinner money for you. With the right tools, you will beat with the same education. Two traders have the same education, same training. You give the right tools, the right technology to trader 1A, and you give retail technology to trader B. Guess who's going to win almost every time? Technology extends the trader. Poor technology extends barely the trader. Great technology makes the 6-foot trader look like he's 200 feet. Extends the trader. Extends. If you're skillful, good technology extends your skills. If you're accurate with your buys and sells, good technology extends that accuracy. Technology extends who you are. Good technology extends who you are. Magnifies your abilities. Makes them almost unhuman-like. But God help you if you have the best technology with no education and training. Because the best technology is going to extend your lack of education and lack of training, your lack of skill, your inaccuracy, your lack of discipline. This technology will extend that. It doesn't choose what to extend and what to extend and what not to extend. It extends whatever you give it. You give good technology a bad trader, it will extend the badness. You want fast executions? You want to beat your competition to the supply of Apple or whatever you're trading? You want to get there first every time? Not if you are a losing trader. You will just get to your losses faster. You will just go out of business faster. The last thing a terrible trader should want is great executions. You should want a system that barely gets you executed. You're a loser. The skilled, the trained, the educated trader now wants great technology, fast, speed, accuracy, precision. We provide that. And then, of course, we provide the capital. We want traders putting their money away. We want partnership. I want a partnership with my traders. I want a partnership where the trader gets the majority share at some point. Maybe not in the beginning, depends upon where you start. But you can grow to getting the lion's share. I get the smaller share. I provide the technology, I provide the education, I provide the training, I provide the support. I provide everything you need turnkey to operate in the most amazing activity on earth. You need nothing but passion and desire. I have it all. Now, let me make my final point. Let me address head on the topic of today's broadcast. This model that I've put together that bridges these three divides. What if I could go into impoverished areas and I could provide trading education and training to a group of teens all the way up. Give them access to this technology of mine and provide them with the capital to trade. And then say, go out and let's make $20 a day. Do you have any idea the 20 lives that can be changed in certain parts of the world with $20 a day? They would go from being poor to being the elite in their society. $20 a day here in Medellin, Colombia is not that bad. There are societies in which individuals make pennies per week, $2 a month. If I could bring this to those societies, if I could do it at no cost, how many social ills would this package solve? They get educated and trained in a skill. They get the technology to put that education and training to work for real. And they'd be given the opportunity to, with relative ease, blow away any and all levels of needs in their life. You see, in America, traders come to me, Oliver, what does it take for me to make $5,000 a day? They come to me with these astronomical aspirations. Some come with a little less. They want $1,000 a day. $1,000 a day is $250,000 a year, more or less. They want that instantly. $250,000. But in India, if they could make $5 a day, it would change their lives, the lives of their children, the lives of their children's children, and their children too. Generation after generation would be completely transformed. They would go from being poor to elite if they could make $5 a day, $20 a day. Do you know how much easier it is to make $50 than it is to make $500? This is the answer to a lot of social ills in a lot of parts of the world. Right here in America, I'm not in America at the moment, but in America, in the U.S., 14, 15-year-old kids on the corner with no options but to basically get in trouble. What if I could bring this there? What if I could give them access to some training and some education, teach them like it's a video game, and teach them to go out and grab $20, $30, $50 a day? What kind of new direction in life would that bring about? What if I could go with this system into jails and prisons? What if I had a training program for people doing time, wanting to be rehabilitated and changed, wanting something to be able to do once they get out back into the real world? What if I could give them access to education and training programs right in prison? During computer time, what if we could make computer time during the open? And groups would have different turns because we know there are not enough computers for every prisoner in a prison. They could chart the plays on paper at night in their cells. See how the plays, their swing plays, or see how their wealth plays or how their swing plays perform. They pick their buy points here today. And they track the trade day by day. It would give them something productive to focus on and do during prison time. And by the time some of them got out, they'd outtrade all of you. How crazy is that? This can be the answer to so many things trading. There are forces that are trying to prevent it with their exams and the background checks. And all of these are going in the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned. I wish it weren't so. But there are ways around that. And so my dream in this space is far larger than making $1 for myself. I've made that. This is something far grander than that. This is taking my craft, my skill, and solving some of the biggest problems this world has. I dream big, I'm sorry. I always have. People would ask as a kid, you want a Ferrari or you want a Rolls Royce? And I say, but why can't I have both? Like, the question doesn't seem right to me. Why do I have to choose? I always thought big, and I did that. Ferrari and Rolls Royce side by side. And 29 other cars. But this is the dream. This is the dream. Trading as the ultimate answer to most of the social ills that plague virtually every single country in existence. If I can just get it out there and get it to almost be zero cost. The costs have been declining year after year in some ways and going up in other ways. There is no other activity that I can think of that has this global sweeping potential. Because the markets don't care who you are, where you come from, what country you're from, how much you have or not. Doesn't care whether you're fat, skinny, tall, short, black, white. In fact, there is really no market. You've heard me say many times before that ultimately when you reach the point of full awareness, you realize it's just you. You don't say that the air that you breathe is some separate entity. It's just part of life. The market is like the air to breathe. You can use the air to blow up a balloon for your kid's birthday party. You can harness the air to, you can use the air to fly a paper airplane that you made. You can use the air to blow something out of your kid's eye. You can use the air to whistle a song. How you use the air comes from you. The market is like the air. It's just there. It doesn't do anything. It's what you do. So at the highest level of understanding, it's all you. It's not you and the market. It's not you and air. It's you. I blew up the balloon. I flew the paper airplane. I blew the little lint out of my kid's eye. I whistled a song. You don't say that I got flight from the air. The air removed the item from my kid's eye. You don't say that. You say, I did that. Same in the market. I teach my traders that every single day the market's open for you. They open to be there just for you, to serve you. It's not against you. It's not there to oppose you. It's there like the air that you breathe. The air allows you to do whatever you want to do with it. It does not resist anything. It does not fight you. The air is there for your use. And that's the same with the market. The market is there for you. No one else. Stake your claim. My name is Oliver Velez, and I'm your trader for life.